tokenization, unless you're able to sell more of the asset you're tokenizing, it's just not worth it.
Agree. It's going to be irrelevant. Like CEOs, realistically, they do not actually implement technologies because they are more efficient and they are going to cut costs, right? Like they implement these technologies because they are going to be able to just increase revenue dramatically.
This is Money Never Sleeps. Sharp riffs, big ideas, and real insights from smart people. I'm Pete Townsend. Let's go.
Money never sleeps, pal.
So my guest today is Alejandro Gutierrez, leader of Solana Superteam Ireland. He's now making his 12th appearance on the show. Welcome back to Money Never Sleeps, Alejandro.
Thank you very much, Pete. I'm really glad and happy to be here, as always.
Your last episode was our 2026 predictions episode. And you said that 2026 is the year the crypto becomes boring. Is it?
It hasn't been that boring, right, from the from the news perspective, but I think it's getting boring from the adoption from bigger players. We have been learning out of the news from the last few weeks on the exploits, etc. It's like clearly we need some better practices.
We had the Drift hack, we had the Kelp DAO, and that resulted in 10 billion drop in total value locked out of Aave. And I'm just looking at this stuff thinking two G words, guardrails and governance.
Yep.
And when I say governance, I don't mean governance tokens. I mean governance at the corporate level. These things
Correct.
Won't refer to themselves as companies, as corporations, but there's tons of things that we've all done throughout our careers and how to run a business. And I think that we need a good injection of a lot of those ideals into some of these bigger players.
They're big enough, right? And reality is we need to learn what TradFi does well. And I think TradFi does well governance and guardrails. Like you will never had a institutional player managing probably a quarter of that amount of money with the operational security framework of the governance that either Kelp or Drift had.
Yeah.
And that's reality, right?
It is. You're not going to have it. Maybe if they brought in a good independent non-executive director, they might get that. We'll see. We'll see, right? So listen, guardrails and governance can seem certainly boring, but let's look at the not so boring, given where you were last week. You were on a panel at KPMG with the Central Bank of Ireland, Invesco, Dillon Eustace, the law firm, serious institutional names. Mm-hmm. Will you set the scene for me? What was the conversation about before things got really interesting for you?
It was a really strong panel, people that sit pretty close to the core on how Ireland and European financial markets actually work, which is great to see. Like it was a packed room. It was, I think, more than 100 people in there. So you would expect, like the first part was always about like the conversation of like a defining what tokenization is, talking about efficiencies, market infrastructure. But it was fairly refreshing. Like conversation moves from less friction, more to, efficiencies into a commercial reality.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be the only one in the panel just with that, but it was great because John Burroughs had the same mindset. It was awesome to see. It was quite refreshing, actually, seeing the position not just from the big players, but also from Central Bank of Ireland. I was pretty surprised, actually. So I believe that's clearly a shift, and people starting seeing tokenization becoming a real player in the space and this technology as the future of the infrastructure.
When you say the commercial reality of it, is there something that you said that you think cut through all the noise?
I don't think people have been seeing the potential of this technology from the commercial side. I think there was still this cultural mindset that tokenization is only there to provide efficiencies and transparency, etc. But the reality is when you're starting explaining people that you can have more programmable features embedded at the infrastructure layer. So in the case, it's more efficient. You can onboard people in an easier manner. And at the end of the day, expanding, right, the amount of people that will be able to use these products, then they are kind of like...
The light bulb moment.
Exactly.
tokenization, unless you're able to sell more of the asset you're tokenizing, it's just not worth it.
Agree. It's going to be irrelevant. Like CEOs, realistically, they do not actually implement technologies because they are more efficient and they are going to cut costs, right? Like they implement these technologies because they are going to be able to just increase revenue dramatically.
What I get excited about is looking at it from my portfolio companies and the corporates that I'm friendly with, where you get into conversations about, okay, let's segment the market. Let's look at this tokenized asset and how will it help you to sell more of the underlying asset? And how do you actually approach each one of these markets? What are the things you need to think about from a regulatory perspective, but also just from a user preference perspective? And you start to see how this opportunity lines up, and then also the reusability of the asset. Alejandro, you've built a lot of this stuff. Defactor, the Consol Freight supply chain financing, what got unlocked commercially that wasn't possible before tokenization?
First of all, we were extremely early. Supply chain finance is extremely limited to bigger players. Why? Because they are the ones who realistically do not need capital, but they can just find cheaper capital outside. So instead of using their own capital, they can just use capital for a lower percentage, and that's the way it works. However, you have the SMEs that are the ones that realistically they need the capital, right? But for them, it's extremely difficult to just get it. But what tokenization allowed suddenly, right, is matching the need for yield, right? And from investors, right? That is, they're out there everywhere with these people that are in real need for this liquidity without increasing the risk, right?
Okay.
And that's what tokenization can do. Like, for example, for a Colombian SME at the moment, to just get capital from someone in London is extremely difficult. You will be able actually to just ease barriers of entries with tokenization for people from around the world to be able to just access this need of capital that they have.
I get that. And that point about matching up the yield with the liquidity and doing that in a simpler way, that really points to the global formation of capital that this whole space enables.
Correct.
Correct. And I like to think about how might we be able to, with, say, a regional asset manager, tap into global liquidity for building their fund.
Like the easy of onboarding as well, right? It's a really tricky process, the onboarding for liquidity providers. You're going to be able just to do that way faster. I dream doing all these onboarding processes in 3 clicks at some point, right? Not there yet, but I think we're working on it.
But listen, bringing it back to Ireland, Alejandro, you've got the ability here to convene people across government, corporate, startups, universities with the activities that you're involved with. Do you think that Ireland has what it needs for tokenization to actually move product, to move Irish product? Or are we still mostly talking?
So look, I think we have all the ingredients. That's the reality. We have a really strong funds industry, one of the strongest in Europe and probably around the world. We have huge payments industry as well. We have credible regulatory environment framework. We have the legal expertise. We have the services. Like, it's a serious base. We have the whole platform that is needed for this thing. And on top of that, we have somehow a growing and credible innovation ecosystem as well, right? But I think it's really important actually to just reiterate on how strong the talent is in this country. I think what we don't have yet is that coordination, that execution around tokenization and understanding the big commercial opportunity that can bring to Ireland. But I think we're still a bit too comfortable discussing the subject and doing papers and all these things. We're way beyond the POC. Like, that's long gone, right? Like when you have all the bigger players already having products, right, that are live and people are investing in them, right? Like Benji, like Citibank, like Invesco's partnership with Superstate, all these things, right? Like it tells you, like, okay, guys, like that POC phase is long gone. So now it's actually time to move and execute, because either Ireland is going to start moving product quick, or we're going to just be left behind by some other jurisdictions, right? And we know in Europe was the other jurisdiction that is going to be taking a big bulk of the business. The good thing is suddenly, for the first time, I'm seeing every single one of the different actors in the space. I wouldn't say concerned, but it's more alert. An alert that, hey, this needs to happen. And this is coming from the regulator, from the government, from the asset allocators, from the lawyers, from everybody. So I think finally there's something there, right?
It is. Looking at the tone of the Central Bank of Ireland, I don't think any regulator around the world is ever in a position to beg for anything. And I don't know how you say that a regulator begs for something. But the tone seems to be like, bring me your finest meats and cheeses, please. We will do this. And that the form of settlement, the form of transactions that never really distinguish between an old way and a new way. It's, is there an operating model? Are there risk controls? Is there governance around this? What are the guardrails? How does it all work? And being able to say that with confidence and credibility to your regulator that this is how things work, that's critically important. We just need one of these big players to push ahead. You know?
Agree.
And
Agree.
I think all the ingredients are there, especially on the talent side. You know?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
But before we go, tell me, what is the best way that people can get in touch with you to learn more about what's going on with Superteam in Ireland, but specifically as well, what's going on with both Buildstation and Castle DAO?
Yeah, so, well, best place, X and LinkedIn. You can look for me over there, Alejandro Gutierrez. Also follow Superteam Ireland X. Look, there has been a lot of work actually at the beginning of the year on Buildstation and Colosseum, the largest Web3 hackathon and like a startup competition in the space. It's $2.5 million in investment and $250,000 in prizes in order to support the Irish projects that are competing for Colosseum. We're taking Teddy Desk upstairs in Dog Patch in the Urban Garden, and we're providing everything these guys need to win. So we have been consistently winning for the last 3 Colosseums in Ireland, and we want more winners. This time we have record registration from Ireland. We have 160 people registered, and we so far have close to 70 projects that are submitting this time, which is crazy.
That's going to be a lot of pitches.
There's going to be a lot of pitches, and I think probably we need to just change that bit. Because nobody's going to sit through 70 pitches. And the other thing that we're doing is Castle DAO. So the idea is to have 2 weeks residency for brightest minds in Ireland and around the globe, for them to come to Ireland, to just explore Ireland and put Ireland in the map as a hub for Web3. Should I disclose where we're hosting this, Pete?
I think it's a big coup, shall I say.
Yeah, so we're hosting this in Slane Castle.
Slane Castle, for those outside of Ireland, is an iconic estate and castle where the likes of U2, Bruce Springsteen, Thin Lizzy, you name them, have played and have had big contracts. Metallica, Oasis.
Oasis, yeah. I didn't know this, but actually YouTube recorded a whole album in Slane Castle.
That was the unforgettable fire. Absolutely.
It will be a fun 2 weeks, that's for sure.
It will be epic. It will be epic. And like I said to you when you first shared this with me, I think we got to get some music there, some traditional music, or it's called in Ireland trad, and we'll just call it TradFi, you know. And
the TradFi band.
All right. Well, listen, Alejandro, thank you again for joining me. Love talking through these things with you, and
Same.
I know I'll be talking to you again real soon.
Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure as always.
And to all of you, thanks so much for listening and watching. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, wherever you get your podcasts, and pop us in a review as well. All of that helps others to find the show and means a heck of a lot to me. Till next time, see ya!